The podcast you're about to hear is part of the Polish-Scottish Heritage Project as one of its many productions which aim to promote a greater awareness of Poland and Scotland's shared heritage. We hope that it encourages you personally to look into the stories of the places, events and people that shape the history we are privileged to share.
My name is Gabriela Ingo. On the 30th of October 2013, I met with my friend and a huge supporter of the Polish community in Scotland, Mrs. Lesley Duncan, in her house in Edinburgh. Since childhood, Lesley has had strong ties to Poland.
Some time ago, I'll go back in life, my elderly cousin married a Polish soldier, and she actually left Edinburgh to join him in Warsaw, where she's still living today. That would be approximately 1943. On the very few occasions she came back to Edinburgh to visit family, I was very, very fascinated by the stories and why someone from our family had left our beautiful city.
Lesley's second link to Poland came from her friend, a bagpipe teacher, Mr. Lindsay Davidson, who introduced her to the traditional Polish pipes.
Lindsay is now based in Krakow and married to a Polish girl. Lindsay taught and tutored the Duncan family and encouraged Scott, our youngest son, who is now playing the bagpipes. On graduation, Lindsay then went off to explore the bagpipes in Europe.
During this exploration, Lindsay discovered a museum of musical instruments and its director, Mr. Jaskulski.
Mr. Jaskulski was so excited to meet a traditional bagpiper. And during this time, Poland was being put forward to join the Union. And Lindsay and Mr. Jaskulski decided maybe we could do something to help Poland celebrate joining the Union. So on return to Edinburgh, Lindsay contacted my husband and asked if it would be possible for Duncan family and the young Scot of Scotpipe to return to Poland at their own expense to celebrate Poland joining the Union. We were met in Poznań by Mr. Jaskulski and some very young students playing their Polish dudy.
Dudy, or dudy in Polish, are the Polish version of bagpipes. In Poznań, Lesley and her family were warmly greeted by locals and their children, who instantly made them feel right at home.
We were made so welcome and instantly felt a very warmth from the people. I could not believe the love, affection, attention that we were receiving, the hospitality. But in the back of my mind, I could see some sadness, some poverty there. It was so sad to hear some of the stories and how the people were treated.
It was during this trip that Lesley became aware of homeless people in need in those rural areas of Poland. On her return to Scotland, she began speaking with Magda Nowak, who introduced her to an organisation called Barka.
Magda provided me with a direction of Barka. Barka is the baby of homeless people in Poznań. This gave me an insight to want to go back and help other people. I was very impressed on reading about Barka and their ethos and decided I would like to return as a volunteer. In particular, I was aware in Edinburgh of many Polish people now living here, and sadly they were now on our streets as well. It was a mini Poland.
Lesley and Scotpipe, her family's pipe band, decided to help Barka in raising funds for homeless people in Poland. The first concert was a huge success, with visitors and pipers coming from all over the world.
125 people came from far afield as Australia, Hong Kong, Japan, Switzerland, England, France, Scotland, to give us the support to recognise the less fortunate people in the world.
To this day, Lesley continues to raise money for Barka and plays a huge role in supporting the underprivileged and homeless, both at home and in Eastern Europe.
Did you know the story about the homeless man? He was put on the streets and I rescued him and sent him back to Poland.
Lesley told me a moving story of a homeless man from Poland who was found on the streets of Edinburgh. He was critically ill and was taken to hospital. After a couple of days, he was released and returned to the streets.
Absolutely horrified at what I heard of a city like our city of Edinburgh who couldn't accommodate the gentleman. They did treat him and said that he was well enough to go back on the streets. At that stage, Barka asked myself if I could make time to go and arrange a passport with Consul General and return him to Poland where he would be looked after, because now we found out he had a brain tumour, and it was just so emotionally sad in this day and age.
And you managed to send him home?
Yes, it took a few days with going back and forward to Consul. He was kept in a bay in the hospital. My family and friends gathered together the clothes and food and some money, and we dressed him. I really don't understand why there was a breakdown here, and that concerns me very much. Hence, we went on a few months later to make a concert to highlight Barka in the hope that an office or unit will be made in Scotland and Edinburgh.
And how is it going now?
We're still plugging away and hoping one day a miracle will happen for us to get a base in Edinburgh.
This project would not have been possible without the support of our sponsors, including the Consulate General of the Republic of Poland in Edinburgh, and the enthusiasm and hard work of our project volunteers, for which we are extremely grateful.